Morning Wildcats, this is Miss Graves. Last time we read pages 76 to 112, and if you weren't here, I'm here to summarize some of that for you. There's a lot of important stuff that happens in this chapter. In this chapter or section, Rissa and Connor pretend to be clappers to get out of the confusion at the school and to escape. The teacher, Hannah, who helps them, tells them to go to a shop in town and ask for a woman named Sonia. So they make it there, and this old woman named Sonia is an interesting character. And so they meet her. She's got a trap door down in the bottom of her shop that dates all the way back to Prohibition. And so she opens up the trap door, and Connor and Rissa see a bunch of other little kids, not little kids, kids of all ages down in her basement. So she is somebody that's kind of helping, kind of like they did with the Underground Railroad. We meet some important characters. We meet Hayden, Mai, and Roland. And with this new set of characters, we've got quite a power struggle between Roland and Connor. Roland has a shark tattoo on his forearm. That's kind of important later on, and they talk about the symbolism of the shark on page 100, and it's sort of a warning sign that Connor should watch out for Roland. Hayden and Mai are interesting too. Hayden sort of represents classism, so the war between the haves and the have-nots, because Hayden came from a family with money, and Connor mentions that. They stay down in the hidden room for 4 days until someone comes to collect them. And one of the things that Sonia does on the third day that they stay with them, she calls them up one by one, and she tells them that she wants them to write a letter to somebody that they love. Connor says, "What if I don't love anybody?" And then she laughs and says, "You unwinds are all the same. Just because no one loves you doesn't mean that you don't love somebody." So she tells him, go ahead and write to somebody that needs to hear what you have to say. There are a lot of parallels in this section I see between the troubles that some of the characters have gone through and the troubles that exist in our own world, which is really sad. Like Mai, I think it is, tells a story about, or Mai or Hayden, one of those two characters tells the story about how they became unwound, and maybe it's Roland. I'm not sure. I read it so fast. So one of the characters tells a story about how their mom was abused by their stepdad, and so they beat up their stepdad. And then the mom took the side of the stepdad and signed an unwound order. And that's kind of some things that we see in our own world, which is really sad. They bring up the topic of Humphrey Dunphy. And if you didn't pay attention to his reference earlier in the book, you should probably go back to the reading on, I don't know, somewhere around page 100 to 112 and take a look at Humphrey Dunphy, because his story comes up over and over again, and that's parallelism. Three Little Pigs has parallelism in it. When the wolf goes to the three pigs' house, I'll huff and I'll puff, I'll blow your house down. So parallelism is when the same kind of thing happens over and over and over again in a book, and the story of Humphrey Dunphy is that in this book. Let's see. So when Connor has to write his letter, he chooses to write to his mom and dad, and all the anger and angst comes up in this letter, and he's kind of frightened by the idea of opening up in a piece of writing, and I can relate to that because writing is a very personal thing, and it seems kind of a difficult thing to do. On page 111, I just want to read one quote and have you think about that a little bit. I don't have my glasses on, so I might read a little slow, but the quote says, "One thing you learn when you've lived as long as I have," this is Sonia, "people aren't all good and people aren't all bad. We move in and out of darkness and light all of our lives." So, you aren't all good, you aren't all bad. That's what makes us all human, and it makes these characters really relatable. I hope you enjoyed today's reading. Talk to you later. Bye.